to today's class. For today, there are no props required but you and your space to flow in. So whenever you have your mat and your space, let's go ahead and meet in Tadasana. We're going to start at the back of the mat. And when coming onto your mat, go ahead and start to find some weight shifts right away, forward and back, side to side. Just exploring all edges of the feet. Today's class is going to be very flowy, if you will, have a little bit more freedom in your movement. Just trying to kind of stir up your energy in a way where it kind of just loosens you up and allows you to feel a little bit more free within your space, within your body. So if you have that kind of mood where you feel like you want to move, but structured movement isn't necessarily what your body's calling for, this class might feel good just to kind of stir things up and get yourself moving. And so with that, when we kind of flow through today's class, feel free to be as exploratory as feels good for you. So what I'm doing may look a little bit different from what you're doing, and so on. So have a little fun. Allow this class to provide you with an opportunity to tune inward. And again, just moving some energy around, working out the kinks in the process. We'll move through the entire body. And so with that, slowly start to take those weight shifts toward your center. So finding equal weight bearing through the soles of the feet, between the front and back of the foot, the inside, the outer edge. And then once you find that center, feeling a nice lift through those arches and feeling a nice pull of energy all the way through the legs, pulling that spine nice and tall, and then reaching those fingertips down toward the sky. So a nice big and proud stance here. Probably the one big moment of rigidity or strength and stillness we will find in today's flow. So just kind of feel the power in this stance. And take another breath or so for yourself. On your next inhale, soft bend in the knees, sweep those arms up and overhead, reach nice and tall. Grab hold of that left wrist and start to curtsy over toward the right, bowing the rib cage over toward the left as you reach the hands over toward the right side of the room. Feel the expansion within the left side of your body. Inhale, come back through center, reach tall. On the exhale, moving over toward the left. Curtsying over toward that side, reaching those arms over as you bow open through the rib cage on that right side. So it's almost like you're tucking that right hip underneath you and then reaching and lifting from that space to find a nice opening here. Inhale through center. And then exhale, hands come through heart center, hinge at the hips, soft bend in the knees as you find a forward fold. Lifting those hips up toward the sky. Lifting those hips up towards the sky. Exhale, find your fold. Inhale, fingertips can be onto the mat, onto your shins. Halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, lift, engage within the back body. Exhale, fold. Root to rise, press through the soles of the feet, deep in the bend in your knees as you round and ripple your body up towards standing. Inhale those arms up toward the sky. And then exhale, trickle all the way back down, find your forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, root to rise once more. Bend those knees, press the hips forward. Ripple through the spine as you reach those arms up overhead. And then exhale, hands come to heart center. Go ahead and wiggle those feet out a little bit further from one another. So coming along the edges of the mat. Inhale, reach those arms up and overhead. Press those hips forward, open up the front belly. Then exhale, bend the knees, hinge the hips, forward fold. Hands come to the earth, and on the inhale, you're going to sit the hips low. And then wiggle the feet out a little bit further if you need, toe out through the feet if that feels good. And then you're going to go ahead and just shift your weight side to side, allowing the elbows to nestle inside the knees to create space for yourself. As you slowly start to settle into your center, palms come toward one another, or you can make fists and drive your knuckles in toward one another. Whatever connection allows you to use the elbows and guide those knees open just a little bit further. And allowing the hips to sink low, crown of the head to reach tall. One more breath. On your exhale, hands plant, hips lift, forward fold. Linger here for a moment where you transition in and out of that passive squat. Inhale, hips drop, chest lifts. Exhale, fold. Feel free to find any movements of freedom through the spine. Inhale, sit those hips low. Hands can be wherever they need to be. Exhale, fold. Moving the toes with you, adjusting your stance. Inhale, sit low. Exhale, fold. One more round. Inhale, drop those hips. Exhale, fold. And with this fold, feel free to keep your stance a little bit wider. You can keep your fingertips down onto the earth and just sway your hips, bending into one knee at a time and kind of moving through your space in this capacity. If you like the idea of having that little bit of support. But if you truly want to surrender into your space here, feel free to grab hold of opposite elbows and really let the head fall heavy down toward the earth, but still finding those sways. Bending into one knee and then the other, again, as much as feels good. Maybe come into the forward corner of that right foot and then sinking back into the heel of the left foot. So maybe moving on diagonals, maybe just moving side to side, front to back. Let it feel good. Let it feel opening. Let it feel like you're creating new space within your body. Make the oscillations as big as you'd like, because within the next few breaths, we're slowly going to swirl that energy toward your center, finding that fold, finding that heaviness as the crown of the head reaches down, the hips lift up toward the sky. And then slowly, if you grabbed opposite elbows, go ahead and plant those hands down onto the floor. And then from here, you're slowly going to walk the hands out, coming into your downward facing dog. Pressing those hips up and back in space. Hands plant heavy down onto the earth. And then just kind of sashay your hips side to side. Again, opening through the side bodies, opening through the hips, working through the back line of the legs. Slowly finding your way in towards center. Inhale, lift up high onto the toes. Exhale, bend the knees, sit those hips back, gaze forward. On the exhale, round and ripple, high plank. Pausing here for just a moment, and then you're going to bend the knees, lift those hips back up toward the sky. 2 more rounds. Inhale, heels lift. Exhale, bend the knees, gaze forward. Round and ripple your energy, hips lift up high toward the sky, and then round. High plank. Exhale, send the hips back. Downward facing dog. Inhale, high up onto the toes. Exhale, bend the knees, gaze forward. Use that energy, create space. Pause in that high plank and then send the hips up and back, downward facing dog. On the inhale, you're going to lift those toes up toward lift up high onto the toes. Exhale, you're going to dive down into the heels. You're going to come onto the outer blade of the left foot, inner edge of the right foot. Send those hips down towards the mat. And then you're going to press through the feet, come forward into a side plank, open up. And then exhale, come back onto the toes, lift those hips up, back up toward the sky, downward facing dog. Inhale, lift up high onto the toes, exhale, dropping the heels over towards the right side, coming into that little springing type position. So inner edge of the left foot, outer edge of the right foot, sink those hips low, and then press through the feet. Come forward, side plank. On the exhale, come back onto the toes, downward facing dog. One more round each side. Inhale, heels lift. Exhale, bend the knees, heels drop over toward the left. Sink those hips low, use the grip of that hand at the top of the mat. Spring yourself forward, side plank. Lift that right rib cage up towards the sky, letting the left rib cage scoop it up. Exhale, send the hips back, coming back into your downward facing dog. One more side. Inhale, heels lift. Exhale, bend the knees. Heels drop over toward the right. Squat those, or bend those hips, bend those knees, drop the hips toward the mat, and then spring forward. Come into that side plank. And then exhale, downward facing dog. Round and ripple the spine forward. Come into your high plank. Roll over the toes, drop the hips, upward facing dog. Let those hips fall heavy. You can be engaged within the lower body so those legs can be lifted, or you can drop them down, coming in more into a high cobra. Then exhale, cow pose, moving through cow pose as you bring the hips toward the heels, coming into child's pose. Take some deep breaths, nice and slow, steady your pace. Feeling the inhales and exhales as you appreciate the connection between your belly and your thighs. Reaching those fingertips toward the top of the mat. You can bring your legs parallel toward one another. And on the inhale, you're going to grip through the palms. You're going to start to pull the body forward, rounding through cat pose, keeping the tailbone tucked until those hips drop toward the top of the mat. Inhale, lift the chest up, opening through the front body. Maybe a subtle engagement of the glutes to help press those hips down toward the mat. And then on the exhale, send the tailbone, the sit bones up toward the sky as you move through cow pose. And then allowing the sit bones to drop toward the heels, child's pose. Inhale, round forward. Press through the heels of the hands, rounding through the upper back, the mid back, the lower back until the hips drop heavy. Shoulders roll open, chest opens, belly lengthens. Hips engage to create space. Exhale. Send those hips back, lift the tailbone, the sit bones up toward the sky until they finally settle, hips to heels. Child's pose. One more round. Inhale, pull forward. Nice and slow. Open up, upward facing dog, high cobra. And then exhale, moving through cow pose as you slowly bring hips to heels. Settle into your space. And then from here, we're going to just kind of walk the hands side to side. So sometimes in class we go ahead and start from child's pose and we just walk the hands over and feel a nice static stretch. What I want you to do is try to explore some nice soft movements with this. So you're still working from side to side, but almost like you're working through a nice sweeping motion so the chest stays low and you're just working from one side to the other. Opening up through the side body, staying long within the low back. And one more breath or so, working through your space. And coming back through center. Settle that energy. So kind of like we're stirring it up, we settle down. Stir it back up, settle it back down. Go ahead, come up into tabletop position. And then from here, slowly start to just bump the hips left to right. Nothing fancy. Just kind of rocking to the left shin, left hip, right shin, right hip. Just going side to side. This might feel good. This might be all you're looking for. If you want a little bit more into the spine, start to create barrel rolls as you move along. Getting a little bit more movement, maybe into the shoulders, into the middle of the back. Maybe you want to shift your weight in different directions, so you don't want to just go side to side. You want to kind of come forward, back, on diagonals. Give it a play, give it a whirl, see how it feels. Maybe just going through cat-cows forward and back. Explore your space for another 3 more breaths. And slowly settle into your tabletop position, keeping the toes untucked, top of the feet down onto the earth. Go ahead and bring your sit bones toward your heels. Find a nice tall spine. Again, settling your energy once more. From here, we're going to take a few rounds of circle camel or half circle camel, if you will. And so, take one more breath. Deep inhale. Feel free to open the mouth, cleanse it all out. Exhale. On your next inhale, right fingertips beyond the right toes. Sweep that left arm across the body, up and overhead. Find that hip opener. Reach the left fingertips nice and long. Exhale, come back down. Sweeping right over to the left side, left fingertips plant. Right arm sweeps up and overhead, reaching those fingertips nice and long. Exhale, come down, one more round each side. Inhale, right fingertips plant, left arm reaches up and overhead. Exhale, lower. Inhale, right arm up and overhead. Reach, open, stretch it out, open up, create space. Exhale, sweep down. Keep those left fingertips planted. Right fingertips come beyond the toes. Scoop that tailbone underneath you. Press the hips forward. Lift the hips toward the sky. Roll those shoulders open. Maybe the head drops. Just feel the expansion within your front body. Exhale. Hips come back toward the heels. Roll over, tap the shins, come down onto a seat. Hands come behind the thighs and then slowly lower all the way down. And as you come into this space, go ahead and windshield wiper the knees side to side, being as active or as passive, as big or as little as you'd like. Loosening up the low back. Swirling through some energy within the hips. And then go ahead and slowly make your way back towards center. Go ahead and bring both knees in toward the chest. Give it a good squeeze. Bring it in. Feel the compression. Maybe even tuck your chin up and in towards your chest. Really enclose within yourself, in your space. Before expanding and opening everything out nice and long. Reach the heels toward the top of the mat. Reach the arms up and overhead. Really stretch through the center of your being. Really feel that pull from opposite poles. Big inhale. And then exhale, let the arms come down alongside your body. Bring the legs nice and wide. And just let the entire front body open up. Surrender to the energy around you. And just feel all of that energy swirling through the belly, throughout the limbs. All that positive energy is staying with you. Any negative energy that you released from your body is just being sent out into the universe for a little refresh. It no longer serves you here in this moment. So just settle into your space. And just taking notice of how your body feels. Granted, we're in a much different space than when we started. Kind of got started right on our feet in the very beginning. Now we're in a very supported space, a much more passive space. And just taking inventory of your body and how this particular class helped kind of resolve or move some energy around. Gave you a little bit of freedom to explore your space. And feel free to remain in Shavasana, or feel free to explore whatever final poses you'd like to kind of work through to go ahead and close out your practice. As always, I appreciate y'all for being here and practicing with me. I look forward to seeing y'all next time. And if you did enjoy today's class, feel free to like and subscribe, leave a comment, and I will see y'all next time. Have an awesome rest of your day.